News. I'm Kharl.
And I'm John. Here are this week's stories.
The Supreme Court appears skeptical of laws in Texas and Florida that regulate how much social media companies control content that is posted on their sites. Several justices suggested that laws violate the First Amendment because they infringe on the ability of companies like Facebook and YouTube to make decisions about their content that appears on their platforms. U.S. Solicitor General Elizabeth Proliger stated social media platforms are protected by the First Amendment. And although that does not mean that social media platforms are immune from the government's regulation.
Recently, a dead East Chicago teacher sparked attention from local authorities. 47-year-old educator Craig Jones from Gary, Indiana, was found in his school's second floor stairwell. While this is currently still an open investigation, we do know that Jones informed his family he would be working late that night and even called for a ride home that evening. The family member quickly left after Jones failed to appear that night. The cause of his death is currently unknown, but the police have found no evidence that suggests foul play.
One of Mexico's major volcanoes, which is only 50 miles from the country's capital, has erupted 13 times in one day. The ash has disrupted flights by messing with the engines and wings while also covering the runways. The government has urged people not to climb it as well because it is too dangerous with all the volcanic debris. The volcano has been active for over 500,000 years, with the last major eruption being over 1,000 years ago.
The Coast Guard has seized over $143 million worth of cocaine from the East Pacific. Over 11,000 pounds of crack was found after a 59-day counter-narcotics patrol by the U.S. Coast Guard. While this hasn't been the only issue with cocaine recently, with over 6 tons of cocaine being found shipped with bananas from South America to the United Kingdom, which was roughly worth around $570 million.
Russia President Vladimir Putin said in his State of the Nation address he will start a nuclear war with the West. He says he will destroy all of Europe and part of the U.S. if NATO troops enter the Ukraine war. Earlier in the week, French President Emmanuel Macron said that he wouldn't rule out sending NATO ground forces to aid Ukraine in the war that has been going on for 2 years.
The Prime Minister of Palestine resigned this week due to pressure for reform in the government due to the war in Gaza and the emergence of Hamas. With the resignation of the Prime Minister, it leaves an opening for Hamas or Fatah, the other terrorist group in Palestine, to take complete control of the country. Palestine has already said that they plan to fill the position as soon as possible. But due to the war, the government has slowly lost control of the country and people are split on what they want to have happen.
Israel and Hamas played down chances of a breakthrough in talks for a ceasefire in Gaza after the U.S. President Joe Biden said that Israel had agreed to pause its offensive during the Muslim holy month of Ramadan if a deal is reached to release hostages.
Ukraine has been cleared to join NATO, but Russia is not happy about it. For years, they have been outspoken about the expansion of NATO, and with Ukraine joining, Russia claims that they will monitor Sweden to see if NATO troops will enter the war between Ukraine and Russia. If NATO troops do join the conflict, Russia claims that they will retaliate with more counterattacks.
Professor Lin Chun discovered a 240-million-year-old fossil in southern China. Him and his team of researchers then studied the fossil at the National Museum of Scotland for over 10 years. After the team's 10 years of studying the fossils, they've identified it as a creature named Dinocephalosaurus, which is said to have inhabited the Triassic seas of China. That's all we have for this week. I'm Kharl.
And I'm John. Make sure to check out the rest of our videos on YouTube.
And follow us at ACC TV Hammond.